Mrs. Apgar.
Yes, sir.
This is really your only chance for a public debate.
Yes.
And the broadcast on the internet.
I'm glad you've done it, but I'm a virgin at this, so be nice to me.
Well, my point is that how important is it to you to get your chance to explain yourself to the voting public?
Well, not only here, throughout the county when
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Countywide.
It's very important. The Supervisor of Elections is not what I call like a glamour race. It's not exciting for the people that would normally donate to the campaign. So many of us have had to, unfortunately, put some money into our campaign in order to even order signs and such. I have wanted to run for this position all my life. The opportunity became available. I currently sit on the West Volusia Hospital Authority, and I was elected by 65% of the vote in West Volusia, which we provide indigent care to those who don't qualify for Medicaid and make less than 150% of the poverty level. I think this is a very important segment of society because it's families who are trying to stay together, to work hard, have jobs, but they don't have insurance.
Right. And Ms. Blanks, what is your priority if elected Supervisor of Elections? What would be your first priority?
My first priority would be something you always do is just do a baseline evaluation of the office to see where the office is. But in terms of what I see and what really made me want to run would be to look at that office in the context of the current election laws and see just how that office is affected by those laws and how we can fulfill our mission of voter registration, voter outreach, voter education, proper staff, and poll watcher training, so that regardless of the law, we always are available to register anyone who's qualified to vote, regardless of the law. And we are always looking for creative ways to reach out and educate voters so that they are informed.
Mr. Kelly, the incumbent has a very important job of making sure we don't have the screw-ups like we had in the mid-90s, leading up, of course, to the Bush-Gore thing that put us on the national map for that kind of thing. Is she doing a good job?
Actually, she is doing a good job of following the state law. And the state law, there is a HAVA Act, the Help America Vote Act, 2002, which mandated that the state have a centralized database, and that was put in place on January 6th of 2006. So she did participate because Volusia's voters are on the statewide registered data bank. And that's a good thing because now anytime that somebody comes in and they show up to vote, if they have their ID swiped or automatically or manually, if they enter the information in the computer, they'll have a ballot on demand. So, but those are both, again, statewide initiatives,
which of
not
you,
local.
Which of you three would consider yourself a technical expert in voting regulations, i.e. register to vote, or, like for example, I voted in the last election, primary and general election, but I moved and I didn't change my address. Is it too late now? Does that not matter?
Definitely not too late.
Yeah. Well, no, they closed the books.
It's not too late to change your address. To register to this for this primary, it is too late. August 16th.
But if you voted in the last election.
July 16th. It's too late for the primary, but you can sign up for the general election November the 6th.
But if you voted in the last election, don't you
if you're a registered voter,
right.
You can vote. Yes.
You can continue to check your status, which is what we're encouraging voters to do.
But that's not the same as not being registered.
That's correct.
Okay.
You are always.
It's just an address issue.
Yes.
Well, one thing is an address issue, but what about what she's concerned about, this voter purge? Mrs. Apgar, is that something good that she's doing?
Well, I think the method in which the legislature demanded that things happen is flawed. I believe the 67 supervisors of election throughout Florida need to become one and lobby the governor and the legislature on what is a good law and what is a bad law. I do want to purge the votes because it is wasting taxpayer money of sending mail to that person who unfortunately has been deceased. And I wouldn't send a letter. I would pick up the phone and try to talk to that person. When you send a letter and the people don't expect it, you create an adversarial position. And that's why I said I pick up the phone and call.
Ms. Blanks, typically voter purges, it's a stereotype that Republicans want to have less voters voting or less Democrats voting, and Democrats feel like, well, they just don't want us to vote. If she's trying to fight the governor on getting rid of potentially people that still can vote, isn't that a good thing?
I don't have a problem with purging the voter list of people who are not qualified or eligible to vote. That's one of the missions of the supervisor, duties of the supervisor of election. Where, if you ask me, the issue is, and what we should be looking at, is what the supervisor of election did in 2011 to purge the list. That's the off year when they were required to purge our list. So we need to know then what that methodology was. What we see now in terms of the voter purge and the current supervisor of elections response is political jockeying.
Well, you were an elections lawyer, weren't you?
I was a volunteer election law attorney during 2008.
So you would have an inner working of the legal procedures. Is it get really complicated like that? And who's supposed to vote and who's not? And who's eligible and who's not?
I can't say that. And I think that if you look at some of the research, one of the things about voter purges is that they are conducted in secrecy. They're shrouded in secrecy, as Ms. Apgar even said. What we need to know is the methodology and how it's done. And that's where we can't tell you that. I've searched the site, our website, and I cannot find any list. Now, I wouldn't expect to have on that website the names of those persons who were purged in 2011, but I would have at least some record of the notices that were sent out, a copy, the number of persons who were contacted, and the results of it, and the source of that database and how that purge took place. So that's the critical one, as much as this current political jockeying, a day, a dollar short, a day late.
Mrs. Apgar, closing argument, why you should be the next supervisor of elections. 1 minute.
I am not a career politician. I sit on the West Volusia Hospital Authority, and I do it because I like to help people, not for the huge salary, which is nothing. I have not been a career politician. The County Council approves the Supervisor of Elections budget. So consequently, the ones we've had in that office are career politicians. The incumbent was on the school board, she was then on county council, and now she's at the elections department. I will be the new voice for you as to the elections department. I will be open and ready to hear your suggestions as I've gotten on the campaign trail. You will get a receipt that your ballot has been counted. So many people, when it goes into that black box, they don't know what happens to it. Real quick, the other population I want to concentrate on is our school children.
Ms. Blanks, thank you. And so we just have to stay on the schedule. We're over scheduled.
Gotcha.
Ms. Blanks, why should the public put their weight behind you to be the next supervisor of elections?
Because I will be proactive, innovative, transparent, and fair. I will be proactive in the sense that I will not sit back, as our current supervisor of election has done, and reacted when things have gone awry in that office, especially with reference to the current election laws. I will sit and look at the current election laws assess how our office and our voters are affected by those laws, and design ways, including programs and activities, to address or ensure compliance with those laws while engaging in voters registration, outreach, and proper training. I will be innovative in the sense that we need to move our office such that it is more technologically advanced. When you just look at even our website, you can see that much needs to be done. There's so much social media that we could use without any cost to us that would encourage participation by our young voter.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, you're the senior person on the dais here in terms of elective experience and dealing with policy and direct contact with the voters. Mrs. McFall is not here today. Is that something that is fair game? Does she deserve another term in office? Has she done a good job, or can you do better?
The voters will decide, but it's not just the fact that she's not here today in debate. She has not participated in forums. She's not had an opportunity for people to meet and greet or ask the tough questions. So it's kind of hard to answer the questions when you're not there to answer those. But
are there any issues though beyond that?
Oh, there are several issues. You know, one thing is you try to go on the website right now and try to read the Hispanic portion of it, and you won't because it's in English, half of it, and then when it finally does translate, it's hard to follow. But I can tell you right now that I'll be 100% transparent from day one, and I will never hide my office. I will immediately, you're talking about saving taxpayers' money, immediately save taxpayers' money by putting into place best management practices and all the tools in the toolbox that I've learned from other supervisors around the state the last 15.5 months. And I can tell you, I'm Andy Kelly, and I'm election ready. Thank you.
Well, with that said, that concludes the supervisor of elections, minus the supervisor, and we move on to the next one.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
this.